Hi everyone, I am Bhavya. I work as an Android engineer at Fueled, and today I would be talking about how to write performant layouts in Android. So let's get started. First of all, you would always want to avoid user reviews like this app is janky or it is too slow on my device. So that's why we want to optimize the layouts. So for that, let's get a brief background about how Android renders so that we can better understand the process, why an optimization is required, and what causes the janky behavior. So there is so in most of the devices today, the refresh rate is about 60 FPS, which is 60 frames per second. And then whenever there is a screen refresh required, there is a process or a vertical sync which triggers an Android OS class choreographer, and all the processes start from there. The choreographer issues commands to the UI thread, which is responsible for any inputs, animations, or drawing, and finally executing the traversal pass to lay the layouts on screen. The UI thread then passes this input to the renderer thread, which syncs this information, executes them, and executes the GPU commands as OpenGL stuff, gets the buffer from GPU, issues those commands, and then swaps the buffer. Then the process moves on to the graphics system, which does a process called compositing, and the layout is finally rendered on screen. So as you can see here, there is a lot of background processing involved, and we just have like 16 milliseconds to render a single frame to avoid any janky behavior in the app or to avoid any sluggishness or slowness in the app. So, an optimization of even 1 millisecond in this entire process chain can make a huge difference. Even if you are not convinced enough to go and check your layouts in the code. So, let's get started with what to look for and how do we diagnose the problem. So, for diagnosing the problem, Android Studio comes bundled with a lot of amazing tools that can really help you pick out those layouts which are causing this janky behavior. Let's see them one by one. The first one is Layout Inspector. It provides a graphical representation of your component tree so that you can see what level of nesting is there in your layout, and you can avoid all the nested parent layouts, unnecessary nested layouts from your code using the layout inspector. It provides a very beautiful tree and graphical representation, which is so easier to look at. So you can quickly figure those unnecessary nested layouts using a layout inspector. Then the next one is Lint, which comes bundled with a lot of helpful rules that can directly pinpoint you to the issues in your layouts and also provide useful suggestions to fix them. Next one is Systrace. Systrace provides a graphical representation of all the processes running behind the scenes in your application. So, if you monitor those processes and the time taken by them in the graph, you will get to know that which process is causing the frames to drop, which process is taking longer, and you can monitor that using Systrace. Once we know which process is taking longer, we can work on optimizing those particular processes by looking at the layouts. The next one is Android Profiler, and it is one of my favorite tools to do continuous profiling and optimizing the app. So, again, Android Profiler also provides a graphical representation of all the processes running behind the screen in your application. The only difference between Systrace and Android Profiler is that Systrace provides you with a lot of information, which can sometimes be overwhelming to look at because profiling is very data specific, and Systrace can provide you with lot of data inputs which you might not want. So Android Profiler just provides you with a high level overview in the form of a graph accompanied by the functions and the processes that are taking longer than expected. And for optimizing layouts, we would need to monitor the CPU usage. Here is a screenshot from one of my applications where I'm using Android Profiler to monitor the processes. As you can see on the left hand side in the graphical representation, I am monitoring the CPU usage here. So for optimizing layouts, we always want to monitor CPU usage. There is a red frame just under the display section, you can see, which took approximately 19 milliseconds. And to avoid the jank, we wanted that 16 millisecond window, so that's why it's red here. On the right hand side you can see a breakdown of all the functions which got executed and the time taken by each of them. So as you can see, the traversal process took longer than expected. So now we know that this is actually a layout issue and not some other processes which are causing it, because the traversal part is taking longer than expected. So now we do know and we are sure that we want to optimize this layout. So it is very important to understand if the optimization is required or not, because we do not want to end up in a rabbit hole of unnecessary optimizations. So once we know which layout to optimize, the next step get uh, is to how to optimize them. So let's get started with that. Now layouts matter. Whenever a layout is rendered on screen, the system performs all the operations on its children as well. So if there are a lot of processes, a lot of steps in the traversal and measure phase to render a layout, the same steps would be applied to its child. So the deeper the layout, the more time it will take to render on screen and the more passes will have to be executed to perform all those operations. So that's why you always want your layouts to be flat and you want to avoid nested layouts. So to optimize them, you want to reduce the depth as much less depth as possible. They should be narrow and wide and avoid deep and nested layouts. So if there are more than one passes required to render a layout on screen due to nested layouts and nested parent view groups, that scenario is called double taxation. So there are a couple of scenarios which lead to this double taxation behavior. One of them is a linear layout with weight. Linear layout in itself is very much optimized and almost at all the times it gets rendered in a single step. But when you add weights, multiple weights to a linear layout, it takes more than one pass and thus leads to double taxation. Another thing is grid layout with weights or fill gravity. Grid layout again is a very performant layout in itself, but when you add weights to it or use fill gravity, it loses all those performance benefits and again takes more than one pass, with again leading to double taxation. Relative layout, as you all might know, always takes more than one pass to render the elements on screen. So relative layout always leads to double taxation. Thus, we should avoid relative layout constrained layout, it's possible to omit relative layout completely. So another thing that most of us do in our code is reusing layouts, which is another very common use case for all the mobile applications. So this is how we generally reuse layouts in our application. So as you can see, it is just a very simple layout header, just with a text view having header text. So this is how we usually include it in our activities. In activity main, I just included this layout header and then there is some other views below this. Now how let's take a look at how compiler interprets it. So this is how compiler interprets it. As you can see, now we have two nested constraint layouts, one of the parent and one for the included header layout. So we can, this is like an extra cost that we have paid here by having two nested constraint layout parents. So you can say it's like an extra cup for a coffee and you just paid 10 more bucks for that cup to pour your coffee, so in one cup and the other. So we can always avoid this. Let's take a look at how we can avoid this nested parent scenario. Now this is another layout, the same layout header. What I did was, instead of the parent constraint layout, here I replaced that with a merge tag. So now we have this layout header optimized where we have the merge tag as the parent. So now let's see how we include it in our activity. We can include it in the same way like we did for layout header. Nothing changed here. So I guess we are good so far. Now let's take a look at how a compiler interprets it, and that's where all the magic happens. So when you include this header layout where we replace the constraint layout with the merge tag in your activity, this is how compiler places it. As you can see, we have got rid of the nested constraint layout, the nested parent, and that's where the merge layout did its magic. So what compiler does is, whatever elements you place inside the merge tag, the compiler takes all those elements and puts them in place of the include layout as is, scrapping out the merge tag completely. So we do not have any nested parents here. So we just save those extra 10 bucks, those extra nested layouts, and we save those double taxation scenarios which could have been there due to additional parents. So now the next step is for optimization to adopt a cheaper layout. So for complex layouts, you should always try to use constraint layout in place of relative layouts, because constraint layouts can help you create a lot of complex layouts in your application and serve the purpose for mostly all of those complex use cases. For stacking elements vertically or horizontally, you should always go for like linear layout, which is simple to use and just very specific and meant for that behavior. For placing views on top of each other to create an overlay, we should be using a frame layout. And avoid using relative layout always. I cannot stress enough on this point, because relative layout in itself causes double taxation every time whatever you do. And to support this argument, here is a quote from the developer.android.com, which says, in the end release of Android, the constraint layout provides a similar functionality to relative layout, but at a significantly lower cost. So we should be ideally replacing all the relative layouts in your old legacy code bases wherever you find them. Just hunt for them and replace them with a constraint layout one by one, and you can optimize your legacy code base as well. And some people are just fan of numbers, so I have created a graphical representation here for the traditional layout approach versus constraint layout approach. As you can see, like the constraint layout, the same layout I did with the traditional linear relative layout and nested parents, and the same view I created with the constraint layout. So you can see there is like a difference of 40% optimizations when using constraint layout. And how did I measure this is by using the frame matrix API. So the frame matrix API provides you with helpful functions which you can place at start and end of the code or on activity create to measure how long the time it took to render those elements on screen. So you might want to check out frame matrix API if you are interested in these numbers and you want to know how did I get them, or you can get them yourself by using frame matrix to measure those rendering times. Another thing worth noting here is like how we can delay loading of views. Sometimes there are use cases where we do not actually want to show all the elements on screen, and we are just hiding them by toggling their visibility from gone to visible when we want them to appear on screen. Like a progress loader, maybe, or certain other use cases where you want to show a certain UI on the screen only when user performs a certain action or triggers it by tapping on a CTA. In those cases, you can avoid adding those layouts or delay loading of them. Let's see how do we do that. So here is just a very simple layout progress, which is using a linear layout and then a progress bar. So what we usually do is we have a data binding variable show loading, and we toggle them, uh, toggle this visibility using toggling this boolean. So this is how we usually include it in our fragment, um, with the include tag. Then what happens there if we replace it with a view stub? So instead of using the include tag, if we just use a view stub, nothing much. This is the only piece of code that I changed. On the left hand side, you can see there is an include layout. I just replaced that tag on the right hand side with a view stub, provided an Android ID for the stub and an inflated ID, which would be used to refer to this layout once it's inflated. One we have loaded it on screen, the ID for the stub would become null, so can give you null pointer exception. So you want to use the inflated ID once that view is inflated on screen. So that's why the tag there. So how do we use that in our fragment? So we just, if we want to inflate a view stub or make that layout visible on screen, it's like very similar to toggling visibility. We can change its visibility to visible, or we can inflate it by calling the inflate function. So view stub are very cheap layouts. They are not heavy. They do not take any space. They do not occupy any, they do not get rendered on screen when you rendered that entire piece of code. While if we were using include tag, everything would have been rendered at the same time, and thus you would have, you have saved some extra time because view stub is a very cheap layout to inflate, doesn't occupy any space, doesn't take that extra traversal step to render on screen, and you can always inflate it later by calling inflate or toggling the visibility. So that's very quick and easy trick to optimize your layouts for such scenarios. Now let's take a quick recap of what we learned so far. The first thing is to profile your code and look for red frames. Those are the ones causing the janky behavior. So you can avoid nesting using the merge tag. So use merge everywhere where you are including layouts and you see that there is a lot of nested parent view groups happening there. So you can use merge tag to get rid of all those nested parents. Then keep it shallow and wide, because the shallower the layout hierarchy, the less time it will require and the less number of passes it will require. Even an optimization of like a few milliseconds can give you huge gains, and you will see. Use cheaper layouts, like make constrained layout your best friend. It is suited for most of the complex layouts, and the Android team wrote it from scratch, so they have been using a lot of performance algorithms. That is why the constraint layout is very cheaper to use and very optimized as compared to relative layout, because all the heavy lifting for you is done by the system itself. So make it your best friend. And you can delay loading of views using view stub, and it's again very simple. Now all good things do come at a price. Let's take a look at the drawbacks. Data binding support is not available out of the box for merge tag. So if you are using merge tag at a lot of places and you want something like data binding, you'll have to write custom binding adapters. But I myself have been using merge tag at a lot of places, and once you get a hang of writing those custom adapters, it's very quick and easy to do that. The second thing is constrained layout can be difficult to maintain sometimes with a lot of views, and providing those start off, end off for all the views in your layout can sometimes be a bit of a pain. View stub is a rescue only when you don't want that layout immediately on screen, which serves very few use cases. And then over optimization is not worth the time. I've been there. It can end up being a rabbit hole. You keep on optimizing and optimizing. So we do not want to over optimize, to be honest, and just look for those red frames and just optimize them. And next thing is profiling code is easier said than done. So sometimes it can be a bit difficult. And that's it from my end. Any questions, queries? Okay. Nesting constraint layout inside next constraint layout is not performant. What about situation when root of our layout is constraint layout and inside of it we got recycler view and recycler view rows are built using constraint layout? Okay, that's a good question. In that case, we cannot avoid that scenario because we do want to add those rows using constraint layout. So this is not something that we can optimize. The use case that I was talking about was when you have unnecessary nested parent view groups. So we want to just optimize those unnecessary nested view groups using merge tag. And wherever there are such scenarios where we are using recycler views or any other views where we want a parent view group, you can simply use constraint layouts. There won't be any issues with that. How constrained layout avoids double taxation? So, as I mentioned earlier, double constraint layout is a very optimized layout. It has a lot of data structures and algorithms which are working behind the scenes. So, the Android team is doing all the heavy lifting for us. The system is doing that. So, that's why that double taxation behavior is automatically avoided by those algorithms which are working behind the scenes. How can I use scroll view with a constraint layout? So I believe it's not an optimization query, but I would still like to answer that. You can use scroll view and then place constraint layout inside it, like we usually do for other layouts. I don't think it would be an issue. I guess that's it.